Hello, everybody. People are slowly coming in, but I think we will start anyway. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to 14 Conversation on Agroecology. On this conversation, we will hear about the engagement of value chain actors in Agroecology Living Labs. I'm 𝗃𝗵𝗿 𝗟𝗯𝘀, and along with my colleague Carla Brites from INEA from Portugal, I'm pleased to moderate this conversation. I represent the Austrian Agency for Health and Food Safety, which is also known as AGES. And my AGES colleague, Mia Gugliari, who is sitting right next to me over there, she will be writing a summary of the conversation of today, and there will also be a recording available on the homepage. And my colleague, 𝗃𝗹𝗿𝗃𝗵𝗃, she's online as well, will be handling all the technical aspects. So in case you need any assistance or have some technical issues, you can chat with her. Agroecology, the European Partnership on Accelerating Farming Systems Transition, Agroecology Living Labs and Research Infrastructures, is a collaborative research and innovation initiative involving the European Commission and 26 member states, associated countries, and third countries, with a total of 72 partners. And these conversations on agroecology are among the initial steps to enhance agricultural knowledge and innovation systems, AKIS, for the agroecological transition. And these conversations aim to foster connections between living labs and also research infrastructure actors throughout Europe. These monthly online discussions that we are holding together will continue throughout the 7-year partnership, so until 2030, promoting the engagement of networking in agroecology with different stakeholders across Europe. And today we are going to have 2 presentations. The first one will be by Corrado Ciaccia from Italy, from the Council of Agricultural Research and Economics, CREA, and he will present a methodology for engaging value chain actors in agroecology living labs. And then after that, our second speaker is Paola Miglorini, also from Italy, from the University of Gastronomic Sciences. And she will give you insights into agroecology farming markets in 𝗃𝗴𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗃 Living Lab, which is in the Piedmont region in Italy, and give some insights on the practical experience there. And after the 2 talks, which will last about 30 minutes, we will have the opportunity to ask all the questions and discuss together. But before we begin, I want to quickly go through the conversation play rules. So to ensure a good technical quality, please keep your microphones muted when you're not speaking. And if you don't have a good connection, please also keep your camera closed. And if you do want to join the conversation later on in the discussion or in the question part, just feel free to join by speaking up or using the chat as well. And we do respect everybody's opinion, and we try to keep our questions short and simple, so it's a bit easier for the speakers to respond to them. And all comments and ideas are also very important and welcomed. And yeah, we already started to record this session, so in case you have any objections, I would ask you to please let us know now. Yeah, I think it looks good, so we can continue. And without further ado, I would like to invite Corrado to start with his presentation. Corrado, the floor is yours. I will stop sharing now.
Thank you so much. Let me know when you will be able to see my screen. And in presentation mode. Can you see it?
The screen already? Yeah, now it's sharing as well.
Okay. So,
in presentation
hi everybody.
mode.
Thank you. Hi everybody. Thank you for inviting me to this conversation. It is a nice opportunity to present and introduce the work that we are carrying out in the Agroecology Partnership, Work Package 7, Task 7.3, to design this methodology for engaging value chain actors in agroecology living labs. So with my presentation, I would like to start from some aspects related to terminology, because sometimes it's argument of debate, what is a stakeholder, what is an actor. So very quickly, I want to start from that, so to have a common understanding of the terminology and that we use in the methodology. So we will move to this value chain context and introduce why this methodology was needed and was since the very beginning designed in the partnership. We will present very shortly how it is composed, what is the basic paradigm and its steps in which it is organized. But what I would like to stress is that this methodology is conceived as a living document. It should be implemented in the 7 years that are probably now 10 years. And we want to receive feedbacks from the one implementing the methodology, the one reading the methodology in order to improve it. This is the reason why we will close citing this network of pilot initiatives. So those initiatives that should test the methodology over time. Stakeholders, actors, we are talking about agri-food systems. A stakeholder is any person, group, organization that have interest in the agri-food system and that potentially is able to affect it. The actors that is related to act or acting are the same person, groups, or organization that act within the agri-food system. So, for example, the stakeholders that are actively involved in transformative initiatives at a local scale. So it means that any stakeholder is any actor is a stakeholder, but not necessary that a stakeholder is an actor. This is from our point of view. The other important aspect I would like to stress is this operational scale and territory. The operational scale is the focus area of a territorial initiative like the Agroecology Living Labs should be. So it should be representative of a territory, where the territory is not just the physical aspects, but encompass also the sociocultural dimensions, the values, and the shared identities of the population that live there. So it is a broader concept, and as a broader concept, its boundaries could change over time, and we will see how. And finally, just to say that here in the methodology in general, we refer to stakeholder or actor platform to the group of stakeholder actors that are identified at the local scale and are engaged in the Agroecology Living Lab initiatives. So the ones of you that already attended the previous conversation already know this concept, how it's evolving over time, but our methodology refers to the Agroecology Living Labs, also as reported in these two nice publications I want to point out that probably you already know, that are made from 𝗏𝗏 and Stone this year, that define this Agroecology Living Lab as transformative spaces for agroecological transition at the local scale, looking at the transformation of the agri-food system at the local scale. And this can be done by engaging heterogeneous stakeholders from the value chains, and not only, as we will see, and they should be able to incorporate social, cultural, and ecological dimension. So with our methodology, we would like to contribute in reducing the risk of to reduce the risk of diluting agroecological principles like participation as first in implementing Living Lab. The concept of Living Lab, we know it's very trendy, it's reported in several call applications, is really very trendy, and there is this risk of Living Lab washing, reducing the real participation or engagement of actors in the Agroecology Living Lab initiatives. So in our methodology, we try to stress the local embeddedness of the Agroecology Living Lab, recognizing what a territory could be, define the context in order to involve actors of the agri-food sector along the value chains, but not only, and try to foster co-creation of knowledge, starting from the onboarding of the actors in the initiative. So, considering two opposite conditions, a territory in which we have independent stakeholders that are not all connected, and on the other side, looking at an Agroecology Living Lab at territory scale with organized and collaborative actors. In the middle, we have a medium-long time in which we have to understand what are the boundaries in which this Agroecology Living Lab might operate, what are the stakes, who are the stakeholders, who can be engaged as actor in Agroecology Living Lab, who is interested in joining and in bring its own knowledge and competencies in this action. And later, we have all the empowerment, so the capability to transmit, to allow to this community to act as a community, so also independently by fundings, external fundings if needed. With our methodology, we look mainly on the first part, so identify the operational scale, identify the value chains, characterize the context, identify and interact, have the first invitation of the stakeholders to participate as actors. So this methodology is aimed exactly to identify this operational scale and try to help the community acting in the Living Lab to engage new stakeholders that should be engaged as actors in the Agroecology Living Labs. And obviously, since the value chain is the backbone of the agri-food system, where the most of the enablers and barriers for agroecological transformation relies, it is important to characterize it, to look at this value chain in order to identify impact pathway and innovation opportunities, but also for identifying what are the other stakeholders or actors that directly or indirectly influence the value chain, like the institution, the authorities, the media. So for this reason, in our methodology, we try to overcome the simple concept of value chain, linear value chain, that is mainly related to the mere economic values, try to enlarge also to other values, the cultural, political, environmental, social values, and we propose this concept of expanded values ecosystems. We try to connect, not in a linear way, the several stakeholders characterizing a territory, following the value chain, starting from the value chain, but also looking at the external actors as well. So the ambition of the methodology is twofold. From one side, design the conceptual framework, and this is the work we carried out in the last year and a half, and we have just delivered a few days ago the first version of this methodology that should be now implemented. The second aim is to design how to test the methodology, how to connect initiatives implementing this methodology. That, I repeat, has several aims. One is understand what is the context, understand what are the stakes in this context, in this territory, identify so the operational scale that could change, should change over time, who are the stakeholders, who can be actors, and engage in this methodology, the take on board of the stakeholder as actors. So looking at the methods for the first contacts, but also for considering the agency of these stakeholders of act as actors in the Living Lab. So looking at the behavioral motivation of these actors. And it should be considered iterative over time, so consider the temporal dimension. So the methodology, how you can find it now, it's composed by 4 sections. One is the core part, the methodology, full of all the theoretical aspects. One appendix in which we report and characterize the stakeholder characteristics for agroecology transition, that namely are capabilities, power imbalances, and inner transformation. And 2, from my point of view, very relevant annexes. One is the glossary, in which we report all the terminology we use to have a common understanding, exactly how I did at the beginning of my presentation. And the second one, that to me is the most important, is the methodology in practice. This methodology is designed to be user-friendly, flexible for different contexts, different scale, different level of the food system in which the Agroecology Living Lab should start. But what is really important is that is open not only for academia, but also for other actors like practitioners who want to test it. And so we will give a short look to that in a few slides. The methodology is based on a basic paradigm composed by these 6 questions: what, where, who, why, how, and when, that are connected to key features of the agroecology living lab, like expected innovation, the real life setting, the social component, to address real problem with the why, the multi-method approach, and with the when, the iterative process. This very complicated picture bottom in this slide, please, just to have the idea of this iterative role over time. And this basic paradigm is conceived to both drive the process, but also to propose an exercise to be carried out in a participatory way in the whole community participating to the Agroecology Living Lab. The methodology is organized into 3 connected steps. With the first one is start from a core group of actors that are the initial group proposing territorial initiatives, and with them define a draft operational scale that is mainly related to the geographical boundaries, and start with the context analysis that in the step B should enable to identify what are the value chains, which one is the value chain that we want to start. And once mapped the value chain, following the connection among the stakeholders more than the linear aspects of the value chain, also make a sort of agroecological diagnosis, looking at what principles are already embedded in the territory or characterizing the value chain or the expanded values ecosystem. And by this, also try to reshape the operative scale boundaries. In the last step, we have the identification of the stakeholder analysis, and the first invitation to them to arrive to a first co-creation workshop that is a kickoff of the Agroecology Living Lab. I don't want to enter too much.
Just a short, 1-2 minutes left.
Yeah, thank you. And just to say that each step is divided in several sub-steps that are connected, and we have to consider to come back on the same points over time. These are my last 2 slides. Just to say, this methodology in practice is conceived as a series of 18 dichotomous questions, which answer with yes or not in the implementing of the methodology, driving in the implementation of the methodology. If yes, we can move to the following question, even if there are no mandatory questions, to be honest. But if the answer is no, there are suggested tasks on what to do and boxes with suggested methodology and examples. Finally, we want to test this methodology in real experiences. So we are trying to create now an informal network of Agroecology Living Labs that should support the Agroecology Living Lab in the implementation of methodology and provide feedback to the methodology to improve it, but also to have a bilateral connection between the Agroecology Living Labs and the sort of exchange, so parallel with what is happening to the network in 𝗰𝗶𝗶 that you probably know, and also to connect the experiences with us. And just to say that over time, we want to repeat this implementation, identifying always new methodology and provide at least 3 different versions of the methodology. So thank you. Sorry if I was a bit longer. I don't know if there is time for burning questions, but I'm fully available now and after, if anyone wants to contact me for proposing itself for his own initiative, so for any other curiosity. So thank you so much. I think I have to share my...
Thank you, Corrado.
Thank you.
I see I should take my video off. Thanks so much. I think we are a bit short in time, but we have 30 minutes after Paola's talk to continue with all kinds of questions. I already saw some people were asking for resources and the publication in the chat. Good, then yes, we will continue with Paola. The stage is yours.
Okay, can you hear me and do you see my screen?
Yes, everything perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for this invitation and opportunity. I would like to quickly report our real case, so a very practical experience about the Living Lab, Agroecological Living Lab we created, co-created in 𝗵𝗶𝗏 as a result of a European project, the previous European project, Agroecology for Europe, that allowed us to work 3 years in the work package 4 of this project about the co-creation of 3 living lab as a pilot. So the 3 pilot we worked was, and I coordinated this group, was a local, let's say like a CSA in Coventry, at local level. I know that you had already this presentation. The regional cases, that is the one I'm going to present, the 𝗵𝗏𝗏 in Piedmont, Western Alps in Italy. And then there was also another one that was at national level in the Netherlands with the Agroecological National Farmer Association. So what Corrado presented now, we basically, let's say, did it in a very initial stage, but the steps were very similar before the officialization of the Agroecology Partnership. So we discussed it a lot, and Corrado was also part of that group and of that project. And we discussed a lot what was our meaning of Living Lab. I know that this is not the time to discuss it, but anyhow, in the paper that we wrote, you will find our definition of Agroecology Living Lab, because at that time there was not a clear definition. What we works on was also on a methodology ourselves to understand the performance and the result and the impact to work on Agroecology Living Lab at the 3 local, regional, and national level. So those are the steps of our methodology that we co-created at that time, and starting with the first initial workshop. So we developed 3 workshops during the project with these 3 pilot living lab. The first was always about identification of problems. So this is or challenges, as Corrado also recalled it before. And that was a very delicate and crucial workshop and moment where generally the first workshop is open really to a lot of stakeholders. And what we need to create in our understanding is a safe space. So a space where the actors that are in the workshop feel themselves how can I say, secure in terms of expressing what are their needs and what are their fragility. I say fragility because in our case, one of the first problem that arose was that they felt very lonely and alone. And this was something, no, you need some, so it's not, let's say, things that you share with everybody. No, it's so there is this feeling of trust among us already created. And in order to do that, there was, of course, a lot of pre-work that now you don't see in this presentation. But anyhow, we had some local, very important facilitator. In this case, for us was, for example, 𝗵𝗶𝗏 is this lady in this corner that she was in my research group, but on the other hand, she's also a person that was living there and in the area, and she really had a lot of connection. These are key elements, very practical, but I think they are crucial in order to create a very good relationship since the beginning. So we are not a top-down approach, but very inside. So we were all the same in the same level in the same meeting. The second point was to discuss the different goal and what are the main, the main action that these living lab should take, and also the connection between scientific knowledge, so the university research, but also what is the role of innovation and which innovation is more important. We know that today we consider innovation from many different points of view. In our living lab, it was not at all a technical innovation, but we focus a lot on social innovation. So we foster a lot the how to engage and to bring the local stakeholder and the actors in a more close relationship, and again, increasing the amount of connection that could benefit each of them in their daily work. So the final goal was, of course, to solve some relevant local problems and also to disseminate. As already Corrado mentioned, this methodology and this work has been published already. So you can find the details, and I share already in the chat the link, the reference. What we work on the transition was to how to assess, so which principle that living labs contribute to, and what are the impacts on the transition. Those are some picture of this work in 𝗵𝗏. So as I said, it was very social based. Of course, we also work on some agroecological practices, but what was one of the best results of this living lab that we really put a lot of effort on it was to recreate this map of relationships. So we work a lot on a methodology in order to understand who could somehow support who and how, no? So like reconnection. In the second workshop, we work a lot on what was our definition of agroecology and a local definition of agroecology. So we wrote together the manifesto for the agroecology and food sovereignty in 𝗵𝗏. So very practically, the 13 principles, how can be embedded in the valley, and how the principle can, again, foster the transition in a very practical way. So we design a list of points, and we ask the different mayor of the different municipality to sign together with the producer, with the all kinds of, so citizen, member of the group of production, so whatever, no? So the 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗃, researcher, producer, so value chain actor, but also policy maker, people that work in education. So they were all involved in this step. And the third workshop was really the dissemination workshop, where we invited really many people also from the other valleys. So we are in a region in the province of Cuneo where there are 6 valleys, one next to the other. So we are talking about marginal area and pedo-mountain area. So where, of course, the problem of agriculture is not the intensification, but on the other hand is the abandonment, or anyhow the lack of production in the area because it's too difficult. In the dissemination workshop, we involve also the regional policymaker and people that develop biodistrict in other. So we studied also other solutions, and we exchange what could help the valley. So the farmers market was a concrete action that the Living Lab decided to create during the Living Lab, and that actually was the activity that is still ongoing after the project is already finished after 2 years. So it's a practical result that connected the value chain actors of the valley. So they already know themselves, each other, but there was not enough energy, enough strength, and enough connection in order to do an action together. So the farmers market is to provide agroecological food and good food for the local people, not for people, not to ship the product in the town of Cuneo or in Torino, that is quite far away, but really to develop a local consumption and a local production. And so basically, I don't have the time to show the Instagram page, but anyhow, it's very active, very lively. They designed, we supported them, but to design, to have also an identity in terms of logo. And there was a kind of tension when, for example, some farmers from the nearby plain that produce quite conventional intensive fruit, for example, apple, because there is a district about food production of apple, and they refuse, because what they ask with the manifesto and the 13th principle was, do you agree with this manifesto? So there is an identity that was created, and this identity allowed them to recognize who, let's say, the farmers that are agroecological and the ones that are not. Okay. Without creating barriers, but on the other hand, do you have any wish, or do you want to improve your production, towards the transition? If the answer is no, I'm happy with. They are not part of this living lab. So it's very simple, and I think it gave us a lot of very good food for thoughts in order to think about how to apply the 5 Gliessman theory of transition, and now we are replicating this methodology in other parts of Piedmont, and thanks to the project that is financed by the Agroecology Partnership in the first call, that is called 𝗏𝗏, we are now replicating this local living lab in many other area of Piedmont, so giving us much more possibility. I was quick because
yes, very thank you. Thank you, Paola.
The time.
I will share the slides again. So thanks very much. Very, very interesting talks. I already wrote down a couple of questions I want to ask. But first, I would like to ask the audience if there are important questions to start off, comprehensive or comprehension questions for the talk. You can raise your hand, just type a comment. And if not, I wanted to ask Carla, do you already have any burning questions under your fingers?
From the audience, I think we have a question related with the engagement of the farmers for Corrado. I think we have this how do you manage to engage the farmers? How to overcome communication problems? From Julia Deck. So, Corrado or Paola, can you answer this question? How to engage the farmers?
I think both of us can answer to this question. From the methodology point of view, what I would like to stress firstly is that this problem of the language should be not a problem, because actually it should be a very local scale in the most of cases. So probably everyone will talk the same languages in the engagement. This methodology now is just in English, but I think it could be translated in other languages if that could be the problem. But at the same time, for engaging farmers in that is probably it's actually a problem. My suggestion, this is more related to my experience, that what is specifically reported in the methodology is the role of some people in the area that act as a facilitator or also in connecting people. That is a very crucial role. In a couple of initiatives I'm following, we rely on people in the territory that were interested or already working with farmers and with a direct contact to them in order to invite them in the initiative since the very beginning. But after, actually, it's a role of all the methodology for the empowerment of the group that try to overcome the, I can say, the difficulties with the, actually it's not a problem only with farmers, also with other groups like processor. You have the same problem. You have to set the language and try to create trust bond working on communication on this side. This is what I can say from a very general point of view. But I think Paola can add something with her big experience on that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, let's say, first of all, farmer is again a quite, even though there are not many, it's true, but it's quite a wide category. So we need also to understand and to identify in a given boundary, so in a given area, who are, let's say, key farmer and why we also somehow involve them, no, or invite them. Because each territory have their own specificity and their own. So I fully agree in the slide of Corrado that first it's needed to carry out like an analysis of the territory of the area in order to understand who is living there, working there, farming there, because this is of course. What I consider very important is that farmer come if they know it's somehow useful, no? Like all of us, of course, but at the end of the day, we are paid as permanent researcher or permanent professor, whatever. The farmer needs to live on their own production. That is already very risky. So the capability to attract so-called value chain actor or whatever is if they feel that you can give them something. So the approach is not to work in an extractive way, not at all, but the other way around. So we need to pose ourselves in a condition to provide or give some service, information, knowledge, contact. So anything that the farmer consider useful for their work, not because they are not interested. The farmer, let's say again, we have very different kind of people. There are people that are focused a lot on economic issue, but there are a lot of farmers that I know that are very interested and search for new vision or even spirituality or anyhow different kind of no. So it depends to whom we are speaking with. Okay, there is not a single answer on that.
Yes, so that this is also related with the other question. Is this work in a voluntary basis from the actors, or they have some funding to the people that committed to implement these innovations in the living labs?
No, in our case, no, it was not even allowed to pay the farmer. Sometimes not even when you have some resources, very, very complex and almost impossible to do it for bureaucratic or anyhow administration reason. So what we do in order to make the meeting a little bit more attractive is to offer some food, some, let's say, to have a very informal and warm space, as I said before. So everything we can do in order not to have it a top-down approach, but a very horizontal and comfortable 3 hours, 3-4 hours of sharing, you know? So something that they consider time, not a time loss, but again, something
Paola,
that
like
again.
Carla, if I may add something, because when Paola used the word of safe space, it directly reminded me of another talk that we had by Anna Almond from the Soil Association, because she gave a talk on implementation of living labs, and she was really emphasizing this as well, to create this kind of space where people feel comfortable, to try to create a judgment-free space. And also she mentioned like to bring the food, because when the food is there, the people like to come. And this was her kind of suggestion on how to create in the really early beginning, like a space where people want to join and are interested in joining, yeah, and feel comfortable sharing. What do you think about that? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. Again, we need to be careful that, let's say, not to present. So we are not there, let's say, enough to provide food in a functional way. Now, let's say we are not there to offer food, but the food can be a mean to create a moment where there is sharing and condivisione.
Yes,
no?
exactly.
And so there is a again, we are not there to, as you said, to judge anybody or not to give them any already pre-cooked solution, but to discuss together on what are the problem and what is needed to do. And so we become, of course, the Living Lab is us, no? It is made by us and not by them, but we are part of the potential resource to solve some sometimes very could be a legal issue because the region have I don't know forbidden to have pasture in the forest due to conservation law, let's say, and this is of course is a nonsense. Some in some place there is a nonsense because there is the abandonment, and so the sheep or goat are fundamental to keep the forest clean, for example. But sometimes there are some, this is just an example, or how to improve the slow tourism, not only in the 2 summer months, July and August, where the mountain is full of people, but during the winter there is no coffee, no shops open, no school sometimes. So how to reverse the possibility of local people to have a normal life and not to go and live in town. Again, those are just example of one cases. In Coventry and in the Netherlands, the problem and the solution were completely different, but is the approach that was very similar.
I have one question for Corrado that is related to also with some comments that you have in the chat, and is the implementation of the pilot experiences. Does the methodological framework foresee the selecting participants from the existing network that we have in agroecology, or from other core actors and groups already established in the national value chains? How you will organize this implementation in the further?
Thank you for this question. I had not so much time to say it in my presentation. The idea is now to find several initiatives, different initiatives in terms of scale distribution in Europe, and not only the one already part of the network of living labs that are in the partnership connected to Work Package 8, for the one who know what Package 8 is. What we did in the last 6 months was to launch a questionnaire that was open for 6 months, that was in the agroecology within the partnership, within the network of the Work Package 8 in the partnership. Out of the partnership, it was shared on the channels of Agroecology Europe and so on. But we are available to have new candidates. What we want to do now is, with the results we have, to contact people interested and organize a workshop, probably end of this year, beginning of the next year, in order to better explain the methodology, present it, collect the first feedback from the candidates, and start the implementation. So it is an invitation to everyone who is interested to send an email or contact directly me to have more information on how to do. Probably I will be back with some questions we are organizing a set of criteria. We organize a set of criteria for just classify the typology of the living labs, not for excluding someone, but just to have a broad variety of experiences that can provide feedback over time. So we are very open to welcome anyone who want to join and test this methodology, because we really need the feedback from real life initiatives.
And for Paola, What have been the most significant transformative changes achieved with this pilot that you have monitorized or in the other projects? And these living lab are connected with other networks, for instance, the European Network of Living Labs. Did you have seen that connections or not?
Okay, first of all, the 3 living lab we worked in 𝗵𝗴𝗴 project were all of them invited in the Agroecology Europe Forum in Gyöngyös in Hungary in 2024, and so there was we organized a whole session about living labs there, and so there was a very nice exchange before the creation of the Agroecology Partnership European Network. And then the three living lab pilot entered in the work package 8 of the Network Living Lab by, how can I say, by law, because they were the first created. So we are there, and myself, I also participated in the meeting in October in Bordeaux. If I can say again, I would expect somehow a better alignation, because the 2 projects were somehow had a different approach on this issue, and I think it was a kind of pity that the 2 different methodology were not fully embedded. And so, for example, in this meeting now, that last year we were like 12 European Living Lab. This year we are grow a lot, but I see a lot of different approach on interpreting and understanding agroecology. And again, I'm not at all thinking that agroecology should be standardized. I think the opposite. On the other hand, it's important that we have a good comprehension of what is.
Yes.
So we're not talking about precision farming. Instead, I found a lot of precision farming, for example. I think that this is a contradiction.
Yes, and how have these differences in national and socio-ecological and governance contexts shaped the design implementation? Because these trees that you have selected are in different countries and with different realities. So the uniformization is quite difficult already. But what you feel about this, the design implementation with this diversity of realities?
Well, I think that diversity is always fundamentally important, and it is our uniqueness. So I think that diversity is really important. So I'm not, I don't see any problem to have diversity in scale, regions, typology of actors, again, action, and even methodology to work with. But I think that if we are under the agroecology partnership, we should embrace agroecology as a core, no? So again, there are 13 principles. So our farmer maybe even really know the 13 principles, but this is not important. So it's not important that the single actor of the living lab is aware again of the theory of agroecology. I'm not saying that, but the vision should be clear where we want to go. Okay, so I think that this should, so we are here, so sorry, allow me to be very, I'm also part of Agroecology Europe, not only a university professor. I think that Europe shouldn't spend 30 million euro just to let's say, no, we need to really change the food system in Europe. This is our commitment. And so we need to take action in that direction. I hope I was clear in my intention. Then how to do it? Each local place have to identify their own roadmap and their own tools and the way. So I'm very happy if there is a conventional area that want to shift from conventional to system to efficiency. So the first step, I'm fine. But again, we need to be aware that this is just the first step. We shouldn't be so happy or satisfied about that. It's already a step, but the final goal is the fifth level.
Okay, so I don't know if in the audience you have other question. If somebody wants to put, we have I think 10 minutes, so or 9 minutes.
With more comments at least. If you more arrived during in the last minutes. So I think on this we touched already a little bit, but Paula, I believe this is to you. Were there any efforts to engage individual farmers and not only representatives of farmers' organizations in the formation of the Living Lab? And also, I think this is quite interesting. Did you also try to engage particular groups like farm workers or immigrant farm workers?
Yeah, the first question, we contacted only individual farmer. We completely passed the farmer organization because otherwise we would have the representation, the representative of the farmer and not the farmer. So our target are farmers, so we contacted individually, almost knocking door by door. So it was a very deep and important work, knowing one by one. That's why I am saying that we need a person that is from the place, or anyhow that is somehow not internal or embedded, that know very well the place. And then, sorry, I forgot the second answer you asked.
With like particular stakeholder groups within the farmers and the immigrants particularly.
Again, it depends on the stakeholder analysis. Of course, if there are during or after the stakeholder analysis, if you identify that there are special groups, and again in agriculture it's very likely because at least in Europe the majority of the work manual work are done by immigrants. So anyhow, a group of people from other nationality very often, and they divide according to the different farming systems. Yes, I think it's very important.
And Corrado, this stakeholder analysis that Paula was talking about previous to starting engaging with Living Lab, potential Living Lab actors in the region, is this also kind of part of the value chain actor analysis? Like how do you approach this, finding the core value chain actors?
Yeah, it is part of the methodology as well. We report as the stakeholder analysis. They are two separate steps. One is the identifying the context and what are the value chains, starting from the interest of the initial core actors. And once identified what are the value chains that we want to engage or consider for the Agroecology Living Lab, you follow the relationship among people, asking if they follow the think approach that it was designed from 𝗔𝗴𝗿, that is to follow the connection about people and identify the stakeholders that can be engaged. So they have two separate and connected phases in the methodology. I see from the chat that there is a specific question. Sorry, because now I'm just talking about the document we shared, and the methodology is not in the two papers that are the background about Agroecology Living Labs, and the one presented by Paula before from 𝗪. It's also about the experience in the building up of this living lab, but the methodology was just delivered a few days ago. Now is at the intention of the work package leaders. It should be public. So contacting me, it is possible to have at least the deliverable we already published at the beginning of this year, in which the summary of the methodology is reported that can be consulted. And I don't know, Alberto, if you contact me, I can send it to, in general, to this mailing list. Julia?
Yes. We can do that, of course. If everybody wants to have the deliverable. I can do that. And then I saw another question. I believe this is to the both of you. If you have networks of all these living labs where they can share experiences, is something like this established already, or would it even be maybe too much?
Inside the work package 8, we are discussing about which platform we might use. The project 𝗵𝗴𝗴, sorry if I refer to that, but it was in 3-year intense to prepare the partnership. We already developed a knowledge hub, a European agroecology knowledge hub, where you can sign. So there is a map where the different, we divided in 5 categories: science, living lab, education, practices, and I forgot the 5th. Anyhow, according to one of these categories, you identify yourself and you can self-enroll. However, I'm not sure that this will become the platform of the work package 8. We are still discussing, or the coordinator have to decide. Otherwise, of course, there are, again, the work package 8 for the people that are not a practice of member of partner of the Agroecology Partnership. There is a dedicated task inside the Agroecology Partnership where there is a network of living labs. So we had the first physical meeting again in Bordeaux this October. And for example, just to add, in Italy, the Ministry of Agriculture also founded the Mirror project of the Agroecology Partnership in Italy. And in Italy, we are creating a network of Italian agroecology living lab, for example, national. So I think there are many entry point or possibility. Probably at the moment right now, there is not yet defined way to connect each other, but I think from now for the next years, it will be very clear and evident.
Okay, yeah. Paula, I have probably it will be our final question. I wanted to ask, from this whole process and all the work you've put into the co-creation of the Living Lab, did you have kind of a novel takeaway from the experience that you were not expecting beforehand? Something that surprised you?
Many things surprised me.
Yeah,
Because,
many.
yeah. Because again, when you have to do with, well, let's say what I said, probably I was very surprised of this fragility that was shown without any, fear, and this, I think it was a success of the Living Lab. On the other hand, of course, also I'm not. This is something I was not surprised because I was quite sure about it, but the policymakers are not ready for this kind of work. I'm sorry, but they are not. It's not easy to involve them, and they really follow a very classical path, and so it's difficult to invite or involve them in the meetings. They very often deny themselves behind law
Okay.
direction, anyhow, political document, and they are not so willing to take a real action. However, again, in our case, there was also something that surprised me in this respect, but are very white flies, how do we say, no? Very rare, very rare.
Multifold, yeah. Great. Thank you so much for all of the active participation of everybody and the excellent contributions from our speakers, and also for the Task 7.1 group for planning the event, and of course also the AGAS team for the organization, and for everybody for being here. And before we end this conversation, I already want to invite you to our next one, which will be held next month on the 26th of November. And the topic will be the role of digitalization in agroecological transition. So I hope many of you can join again. And if you have any ideas for topics for our coming conversations, or you have colleagues who would like to join our email list, do not hesitate to contact me or Taro Sandin or Carla, any of our colleagues. And yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing you again in November. And thanks again for the great contributions from our speakers.
Thank you very much for your participation. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.